for context now, because now I'm thinking about this within the context of my own life. In the 90s, where some of the building blocks that were laid, the foremost ones, the fixings, the OTC derivatives products offered to clients and banks. It appears to me as though between 2000 and maybe 2009, the strategy session that bettered the idea of FMDQ was some of these additional building blocks as far as market education is concerned. Paul North, the article, the presentation at life. So, but since FMDQ started, what have you built on that foundation? Seeing as you still remain the CEO, the passion is still there. I'm almost, completely struck, not asking questions as I should, because I'm enjoying the story. So can you tell me I probably know some of this, but your experience is always good to add color. What has FMDQ, done to build on some of these foundations since FMDQ started?
Thank you, and thank you for, reminding me of that 2009 effort. Was it 2009?
Yeah, I think it was a strategy session.
Yeah, and I think it wouldn't be 2009, quite honestly. We went down Lekki Road. This was when you wouldn't have more than 10 cars along that road. It's an interesting world. In actual fact, the way my boss, Mr. Aku, punished me then was to ask me not to send an assistant, but myself to go with the driver to drop FX bid in ExxonMobil, that building, from Citibank down this road. It was a punishment.
Oh, it doesn't happen
this
on
whole place was quiet. No, it didn't happen on Bloomberg. The whole place was quiet, and that ExxonMobil, that building was the only building along that axis. Everywhere was super quiet. So if I haven't achieved my goal or hadn't done anything, say you have to go drop it yourself. So the important, the major milestone brainstorming session would have been put together by Laoye Jayola, and it was in 2009. Something else was 2009. And we went down, I think it was called Lekki Peninsula Bodo Resort or something, along, I don't know if it's the third or fourth roundabout then, but, life there wasn't as busy as it was. And we were like, what is the future of our markets? I'm talking of when treasurers, really focused on market development. And the name was Money Market Association. So one of the things we agreed was to change the name to Financial Markets Dealers Association.
That was when the name changed.
Because we envisaged that someday we'll do more than money market. We didn't have bonds in the market. We didn't have commodities, but we thought that house would be the one to do it. And we wanted to drive it. We also said the association should become a self-regulatory organization. We didn't mention FMDQ. In actual fact, it was when we were doing the launch of FMDQ and we wanted some things from Money Market Association, now FMDA, that we saw that we actually resolved to set up an SRO, and it was quite exciting that it wasn't new, it wasn't a major thing. We had thought of it. And FMDQ started. 2009 would have been something else because the global financial crisis had occurred. So the brainstorming session you might be speaking to will be different, quite honestly, at this point. But FMDQ was formed as a different story, a very long one. But it's a house to drive the gold agenda. G stands for
Thank you very much.
Yeah, because it was the gold agenda for our markets. And we had borrowed that gold from Central Bank under Dr. Sarah Alade and Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, His Royal Highness today. We had a project for them, and it was gold. But then under CBN, it was global, organized, liquid, and diverse. Because the governor then, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, also wanted the Nigerian financial markets to be robust and as impactful as the Canary Wharf and all those things. I mean, you need to go to Canary Wharf and see what financial markets can do to a country. And again, when you're a consultant, you're a bit frustrated. So it's been about frustrations and reaction to frustrations, actually, because you put all together, but you're not the one executing. So when the FMDQ opportunity came, I was a consultant to the project with Dr. Abiola We were together in Central Bank on that gold project for Central Bank. But I never thought I would be the CEO of FMDQ, quite honestly. So when I was tapped for the role, I first declined. And later I thought about it, encouraged by my younger brother, who said, someone else will do it. He may not do it well. Then you go and try to help. The person will say, I don't have money. Then we'll do it pro bono. And then they may not still do it. And then you'll be frustrated. And I took time off to reflect. And I saw the importance of a platform again. And I thought this could be created to be a platform. So I decided to take the job. And I went to Central Bank and appealed to them to use gold again. To use gold. But we changed the G and O this time. We left the L and D. We changed the G this time to globally competitive because we wanted our markets. We still desire it, to be globally competitive. How they do it in London, the United States, the way we should do it here. Why are they doing that in Chicago or New York and we can't do it in Lagos? You read every day how brilliant Nigerians are. So we thought we could compete. So the G was changed to globally competitiveness. So we're not copying the gold from Central Bank. And the O, because now we had learned a lot more, was changed from organized under Central Bank to operational excellence. So that's how we now form the gold of FMDQ. And the work started. Now it's different from being a consultant. Now it's different from being a banker. Now it's about a house thinking about market development on behalf of the market in conjunction with all stakeholders to develop Nigerians' financial markets. Look, it's been rewarding. The first challenge was to get the people to share the dream. You know, how do you sit in one building, you're alone with one other person, and you're interviewing and talking to people
I'm smiling because
to come and join this
I'm
dream.
aware of this story.
To come and join the dream, and you're sharing with them what Nigeria will be in 10, 20 years' time.
That is the money.
So these Nigerian financial markets will be like this. And when I'm talking about this, I can get very passionate. And some people, shared this, and some didn't. They went home and spoke to uncles who had never heard of FMDQ before and advised them not to join all these Nigerian, outfits. But I'm happy that with great people that have come on board, we've been able to build a financial market infrastructure group as we have it today, and also looking forward to exchange traded derivatives. But before then, FMDQ introduced an oxymoron, what you call OTC FX futures.
A very confusing product.
Yeah. Not confusing, interesting.
I said that when I joined. I was like, because I had read from CFA, future. OTC products, forwards, futures, exchange traded derivatives. Yeah. So it was my first confusion. It turned out to be exciting and interesting for me. I mean, I sit on the product as head of derivatives. But can you talk to us about the development of that product, some of the stakeholders involved, the circumstance around which we had to create it? I mean, I know there was some mad volatility at the point in time.
Yeah, you see, you have to understand FMDQ, an interesting place. You go on vacation, come back, things have changed. Mm-hmm. So when we started, Tumishe Koni and Kodi Ugoji, my colleagues, we'll go out to seminars and give people our call cards, and they look at FMDQ OTC PLC and just ignore it. And we're like, we're not getting attention. And we're like, okay, we're going to create an oxymoron. We changed the name to FMDQ OTC Securities as a brand name. So it wasn't limited or anything. The company still remained FMDQ OTC PLC. So we changed our card, we registered the brand name, and everyone we gave this card to, just like you look at it and say, what do you mean by OTC exchange?
Yeah.
Then we got attention and we got talking and they will understand this. So it was the same thing with the OTC FX futures. We understood what futures are, exchange traded, cleared. We presented this to the central bank. You asked about what it took, a lot, that we can't say everything on this phone. But I can't remember the number of versions of that document put together by Jumoke Olaniyan, edited by to me first, then I'll go, and then finally Kodi would have to look at it for QA, and it'll go to central bank. And I was calling the governor. Nigeria had this FX crisis again, and he wasn't picking my calls. And one day I got back from Thailand or somewhere, and I kept calling him. Yeah, it was in London. and, I had a partner at home, and I said I wanted to call the governor. And she went, "Don't you have an ego? You've called this man since you got back 5 times to share what you saw. He's not interested. I'd send messages." And I said, "Last time, and I will not call again." You wouldn't believe Mr. Emefiele picked the call. So you have to also learn not to have an ego if you want to drive change in the market. Yeah. And he picked it and he said, "Coco, I've read, see me in Abuja on Monday." And this was Sunday. I just got back from Thailand. So I told my partner, I'm traveling tomorrow. I said, "Traveling tomorrow." I said, he actually picked and he said I should come. I said, "You're not going. You should have said you were busy." By this time I was packing, And I called my colleagues and I said, "Well, I'm not coming to the office tomorrow. The governor has just asked me to come. I don't know what's going to be, but be ready. Keep walking to me, Jumoke, Kodi, And Dipo. And that was me. I went to Abuja. The governor said, "Well, you work with my people. We want to listen to what you've got to say." Got to committee of governors room. You can imagine the passion, sweating. Yes, the AC was working, but to tell them how the spot market will work, to tell them about the need for a hedge, how this could help the market. And we've read that futures do not cause, volatility for spot market. It helps and everything. And this committee of governors listened. Suleiman Barao was in the room. Dr. Alade was in the room. The governor himself. And the current Deputy Governor Economic Policy, Dr. Kingsley Obiora, who is our chairman now, was in the room but an assistant and advisor to the governor. And they're like, "Let's work on it. Let's put this together." And I work on it and say, "Yeah, the documents to start the market, to restart the market and everything." So they gave me a room and I said, "Well, I have to bring my colleagues." They said, "Fine, start work."
So they had to fly.
I rang Lagos and I said, to me, "Lagos, Abuja for you. Jumoke, Abuja, then Kodi, you stay because there's going to be something to launch. Yeah, Dikbo, I don't know what it is, but there's going to be technology work." And that was how they came to Lagos. And then we asked Emmanuel Etadai to join, to go to Central Bank, to, meet stakeholders. And that was why we spent 3 weeks in Abuja, in the hotel, writing, taking it to CBN, they will review it. And after the governor accepted, the governor called me and said, "And that futures, NDF, you start it, and I'm giving you 2 weeks."
Wow.
So this will be NDF, but it will be cleared. It will have margins. So it had the flavor of futures, but it's not futures. OTC, but CBN giving the rates. And the governor himself was the one that gave it a name. And said, "You know what? They talk about NDF in every market, and they do it in London or Naira. I want it to be different. So put futures beside this." And you need to deal with CBN governors. They're not people you argue with too much. You may make a point, but if he moves on to another file, he's told you, moving on.
Just do it.
So just do it. So OTC FX futures in 2 weeks. But any day, give me great people without strategy. I came out of the room, told my colleagues we're flying to Lagos, but before we go, we need to draft agreements with Central Bank. They need to sign to be sure this is happening. Mr. Emefiele gave a date for the launch, and we had no technology at this point.
Exactly.
So from that point, I rang Kodi in Lagos and Dipo Odemi and said, "Technology to start. Dipo, you have 2 weeks to launch the market." Jumoke and Tumi were with me in Abuja. We started crafting how the products will work on the plane. I tell you, we actually recorded Dr. Alade and the governor's launch presentation because they weren't going to come. We did the video. So Jumoke left thinking about the product with a few ideas we shared with her. Tumi and I stayed back, drafted agreements with the legal of CBN, signed the agreement, signed the initial quotes under apps, recorded, got people to record the governor, gave his speech, and Dr. Alade, and we had those things with us for 2 weeks. By the time we got to Lagos, we had planned the event to me. You take care of the event with your team. I mean, all the stuff done. And Dipo started building the technology.
I can feel the adrenaline from here.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And we launched it on that date. We did launch it. And I think at that point we got convinced that, man's mind stretched would never return to original dimensions. We did it, and from that date, it was obvious that exchange-traded derivatives under Jumoke, to me, and all the other people that came on board was possible.
Wow. I actually enjoyed that, and I have to catch my breath. Okay, let's just wrap up on this note. Just because I would like to know and how it happened. On the launch dates, I can remember because I've seen videos.
The videos?
Yeah, I've seen. I know that. Yeah.
So you saw a lot of.
Yeah. Number one, your governor was on screen and stuff, but there were other people there. I don't know. Can you talk to me about some of the other stakeholders? That were involved, that supported some of this launch, market stakeholders, if there are any of note.
Yeah, it was something that a lot of us ex-treasurers of the 90s had dreamt of. So you'll have seen Mr. Jibril Ako. You'll have seen Mr. Aigboje Agimokwede, CEO of Access Bank. And when we were in money market, I wish we had recorded our meetings and deliberations. Aig, of course, as we all call him, was the major catalyst to the formation of FMDQ. You almost want to ascribe the title founder, but nobody takes that credit in the market because there's so many people that worked on that FMDQ. But he championed, led this, took it on as a major project, saw it through, acted as the inaugural chairman. And whilst I was inaugural chairman for less than 2 years, probably 1.5 years, we had designed the building, what FMDQ building would look like. Gym here, that there. This is how events today.
Where is the gym?
I probably have the paper upstairs, and the gym will happen. But just to tell you that it's about vision, and if the goals are not great enough, it means the vision was never great. Every night I saw Ike, it was about visioning. Remember, I was the CEO of Access Bank, so our meetings were like 1 a.m. midnight. I'm talking about FMDQ, this institution that just started. So you'll have seen Funsho Shobande, Tosin Rishewe, Laoye Jayola, Gabriel Edgar, and the day FMDQ launches the exchange-traded derivatives market, these people they have to come because they did a lot of work then. Michael Owolabi, there's so many names, Rashid Olaoluwa, Ayogbeleyi. And after our generation came in Ebong, they continued with all the work. Sam Ocheo, Akindaudu, Shola Adegbeson, and they have to be invited because the launch has to be grand. Because after derivatives, there's no other thing. The world has not designed any other thing. Yeah. And, also to celebrate the younger ones, your generation and the people after you. Every day I'm happy coming into FMDQ, excited to see those of you young ones taking on this project. Shewa Folabi, your good self, Temitokwe Balogun, Derivatives Business Group, that the institution even has Derivatives Business Group. I don't know if that day will not be emotional for a lot of people.
It will be.
But there's been a lot of work. You look at those in clearinghouse. If I check some of my emails, I'll see when those guys in London first told me about a CCP. I never thought I'll be part of people that will create a CCP and one that is working. And that's work being done by Ayo Naomi, Shegun Akintoye, Bukola Riz, everybody, young people, executives, believing in this country and wanting to put this as something that's been achieved by Nigerians, for Nigeria, and by Nigerians. Yes, we use consultants, But day one, we've been very particular about Nigerians doing this. And I believe that we'll see through. I'm excited by the work you guys are doing. I, sit back these days hearing about the project, hearing about memberships, people signing on, and I'm just excited, waiting to see this thing happen. I don't know what will happen after, but I'm excited, looking forward to it.
Thank you very much for the kind words. I don't know what will happen after as well, because right now derivatives are the peak of financial innovation.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get that. Final question.
Okay. I thought you said we were done.
No, just I'm just curious. I mean, all the ex-treasurers were there, banks were there. I want to know which of the banks took up OTC FX futures first trade?
I forgot to mention Central Bank was there. The governor wasn't there, but his special advisor, or maybe the director of financial markets there, Mr. Emmanuel Ukeji, who loves market development, by the way. And he later, I think he was still the director of financial markets then, but he later is now the special advisor to the governor on financial markets, was there. A lot of people were there, lawyers were there, because in the FMDQ ecosystem, we ensure that stakeholders. The treasurer of NMPC was there, who used to be in the market. So, and I think the launch is going to have that sort of flavor as well, where you're going to see clients and everybody, technology people, the media, business day, ProShare, those people that have supported FMDQ channels, they will all be there. But to speak to the agenda of FMDQ and these people at the event, and the importance of the work done, it's a long story, quite honestly, and it is an emotional one for a lot of people. And we even have a program in FMDQ Next, where kids that are 9 years old, 10, are brought in to this building. And we start teaching them about financial markets and derivatives. There's nothing more gratifying than that. And you could see when the Prime Minister, Theresa May, visited FMDQ, she witnessed that and saw those kids talking about markets. And that's the future of Nigeria. And that program is about the next generation of traders and players. And the financial markets of this country will still be great, no matter what. Now, talking about the institution, it happened to be Citibank.
Okay, little wonder.
It happened to be Citibank, and they had a first trade to test because the foreign portfolio investors were excited about the product.
They were familiar with NDFs. Yeah,
they were familiar with NDFs. They were familiar with futures. But we created something that was an oxymoron, so they needed time to understand it. At a point, I think it was JP Morgan kept sending emails and questions, and to me and Jimoke had to work on things we didn't think about because, and they were helpful. I had to manage their frustrations because they were like, if these FPIs are not going to buy, then maybe they shouldn't buy. But you look at their questions, they were, very valid questions. Yeah. And we had to work on them, brainstorm. And after Citibank did the first deal, when they got comfortable, the other foreign portfolio investors didn't really, latch on to start dealing. Few trades were done, which is how market starts, And we decided that we should go to London and, sort of see these foreign portfolio investors. And to me and I traveled to London, Citibank, met Citibank, Goldman Sachs and all of them in London. And we met one of the senior heads of markets in Citibank, Leo, they call him, I can't remember, but Leonard something. And he was impressed, and we invited him to Lagos, and he decided to come. Oh. And they asked all the questions, how the margins, how we work, calculation. I had all my colleagues explaining this. And what came after was a trade, $270 million. Whoa. And from that point, it featured in but Citibank doesn't like making noise, but we had to
very
let
conservative.
very conservative, but we had to let the world know, and that opened the door, because then it was the validation of the construction of what we had put together. We had upgraded the documents, reviewed by central bank and everyone. And if you go to our archives, you probably see some of these pictures in FMDQ archives. And from that point, trade started coming. At a point, the open contracts, probably the peak was probably about $15 billion open contracts, and maybe today, we will have seen more than $65 billion of turnover executed on that platform. And that tells you about the size and magnitude of the Nigerian market. I mean, Biodun, we have not seen the markets. And if we have an administration in future that appreciates what the impact financial markets can make, to have an active equity market, bond market, money market with Ripple, and then to have these derivatives as the icing on the cake where people can hedge, and we open this market to international players, I promise you Nigeria will need something akin to Canary Wharf, where institutions and people, when people talk about capital inflow, I tell them it's about human capital, not just financial. And you have to think about that. People will come from other countries to work in the Nigerian financial markets. I promise you that is a vision, and someday it's going to happen.
Thank you very much, Coco. We have come to the end of the podcast. I don't want it to stop, but 30 minutes is all we've got. I think we've done a lot more than that. Thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome.
I'll see you guys during our next episode, where we talk a little bit more about how the project FMDQ Exchange Traded Derivatives Market Development started. Thank you very much.